All right, guys. So welcome to week 3. I appreciate you guys for all being here. And you guys made it to this point. Vicente, congratulations on winning again. You had the week 2 prize, which was the massage gun, right? Now we're going to go over week 3, what we're going to win in week 3, and the focus of week 3 being nutrition, right? So we went over activity in week 1. We went over how to recover a little bit better in week 2, right? Building healthy habits. We have framework now that we can really put good nutrition into and accelerate essentially the results that we're already seeing. Carson, you've already lost a few pounds, man. Zach's, moving in the right direction with more energy. Vicente, you're moving in the right direction with gaining weight. Wyatt, same thing, going down a couple pounds. So, I mean, we have a lot of wins going on already, and we're still going to be, tweaking things, optimizing in this week to get even, in a better track. So plenty to come. And if you guys have not sent me before and after pictures yet, and you want to win the $500, like keep that in mind. I need a before picture, and then I need a story or an after picture to compare, right? To win that $500 grand prize. Before we go, I'll talk more about that at the end of our call today. I really want to go over nutrition basics today with you guys. I know you guys kind of all have your own individualized calculations, and on there, PN does a great job of giving you a packet of like, hey, these are ways you can hit your goal. These are the types of foods that are going to be healthier. And it kind of gives you a fun little like ideal meal plan day, right? With like a glass of wine and some cheese and stuff and whatever to hit your goal. And so I want to give you guys a little bit more than just that, right? We do have the macro Bible that's in the group. So if anyone does not have that yet, let me know. I'll tag you on that post in the macro Bible, which it's basically just shows you like, what are the carbs that are whole food? And it's not all the carbs in the world, but it's a good amount. Protein, that's whole food, again, good amount. Fats, they're whole food, good amount. I can share my screen and actually locate it for you guys. That way you can just see it after this and go search it out, because that's where, especially for like everyone's goal in here, but like Vicente, you're talking about, trading some of the foods you're currently eating for more nutritious food items. That's going to be what we're going to do. You're just going to use, it's like a packet. So it's like 4 pages. It explains, the first page is all you need. It explains all the different foods that you want to eat for what. And then page 2, 3, and 4 is just the why behind it. Like, why do we eat protein? Why are certain fats healthier than other fats? Things like that. So if you're someone who likes the why, then you have those other pages to explain it. And I'll go over that today too. But before we go over that, I want to go over how we win week 3, how you enter the raffle for week 3, and what the prize is for week 3, because I think you guys are going to be pretty stoked about it. So week 3 being the nutrition week, whoever wins the raffle for week 3, I'm going to be sending you guys 1 week of meal prep on me. It'll be sent to your house, and you won't have to worry about cooking for a week. You don't have to worry about what to eat to hit your macros, because I'll make sure that the food you're getting is going to hit your macros. And, it's just going to take care of all of that, put on an autopilot for 1 week. For one lucky guy who, again, is posting in the Facebook group and is just lucky and who wins that raffle. So definitely be active this week. And even if you don't win that, I still want you to feel like your nutrition is going to be more natural, to the point where it's going to almost feel like it's more on autopilot. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to go over our one way to enter the raffle and one way also to get closer to your goals. And so we have right here, I don't know if you can see my whole screen or you just see the plate, but we have this plate here, right? This is a good template for an idea of how to eat a mixed meal. And this is the meals that we should be eating most of the time. I say most of the time, not all the time, because it doesn't have to look like this all the time. But at least 1 meal a day should look something like this. And I want you guys to take a picture of that meal, post it in the group, and that's how you get 1 point. That's how you enter the raffle for this week. So I'll explain each portion and why, and then I'll show you guys that, the macro Bible, so you can kind of fill in this plate the way you want with food that you like. But we have the protein, obviously, which is going to be another part of our goal this week. But we have the protein here. It's taking up 1/4 of your plate, right? 1/4 of your plate. And of course, if you're someone who wants to gain weight, you're probably going to have bigger portion sizes, but the actual ratio is going to be very similar. Starches and fats is the other quarter of your plate. Now, if you like higher carb and lower fat, you can go almost all starch, right? If you like higher fat and lower carb, you can go like almost all fattier stuff like cheese or avocados, stuff like that. And then we got veggies in there. So whatever vegetables you guys like, I recommend eating a good amount of them, and it should take up like 50% of your plate, especially if your goal is to lose weight. More vegetables, the better. If your goal is to gain weight, still you're going to eat these, but the protein, the starch, like again, that's going to be the way to gain weight. And then the vegetables is just going to help that along with good nutrients. Thinking of the more vitamins that are in your food, the more micronutrients, not just macronutrients, the more micronutrients you eat as well, the better your body is going to be able to pack on healthy weight, build healthy muscle. And also too, if you're trying to restrict calories and lose weight, the more nutrients you get, the better, because you're eating less food, right? And we still want you to be as healthy as possible. We want you to maintain muscle mass, and we want you to enjoy it and feel better than you did before. And that's where nutrient-dense food is the most important. That's why we're going to go over the macro Bible in a sec. And then we have fruit here for dessert. So that's like an apple, berries, mango slices, whatever, about a cup or one handful, right? So not a whole mango. That would be like 2 or 3 cups. Unless your goal really is to gain weight, then you should go for it. As long as you're eating enough protein, right? And so this is the mixed meal here. Water, tea, coffee are going to be totally fine. Diet soda, not so much. We can skim by with it, right? But regular soda, I would say, guys, like even if your goal is to gain weight, that's not the way to do it. We want to go more of just, we got the different protein sources, red meat, chicken, eggs, fish, or tofu, right? You want to go sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, Ezekiel bread, things like that are whole food to really fill up your calories. We don't really want to drink liquid calories. If your goal really is to gain weight though, and you're having a hard time with eating food, like the volume of food, I would say after you're done eating as much as you can, then you can drink some milk or something like that, where it still has nutrition, it has fat, carbs, and protein. So it's a whole, again, a more of a mixed macronutrient spectrum. And you're going to get way better, more usable calories from that than you would something like a soda or juice. So soda and juice, we're going to get rid of, guys. We're going to be more onto this stuff, water, tea, and I'll let milk slide as long as you're not lactose intolerant and your goal is to build muscle, right? If your goal is to lose body fat and secondary is to build muscle, then almond milk is probably going to be a better choice. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing here. I got a question already. But yeah, definitely want to have questions on this before we move on to other stuff. Juice. Yeah, it's the same thing as soda pretty much, Vicente. When it comes to a sugar standpoint, right? Now, if you are squeezing the juice yourself or blending the juice yourself, then that's different. But if you're just buying it like 100% juice, Welch's grape juice, like it's just like the same thing as having a soda. So I would say if you want something that is calorie packed, like a protein shake, milk, things like that will be okay. Because again, it has fat, protein, and more of a complex carbohydrate as well as a simple carbohydrate in it. Whereas the juice is just literally liquid sugar. It's not going to stick around for very long, and it's just not going to be conducive to muscle building goals. It's going to cause a lot of inflammation in our body. It won't be fun. Orange juice, yeah. Again, hand squeeze your own orange juice, and you can limit how many oranges you're actually having in one glass. Then cool. But if it's like, from the store, again, you're gonna have like 30 oranges in one glass. That's not really it's just tons of sugar. Carson, protein powders. How many scoop shakes is too many in one day? So it depends on the day, right, man? So if it's something that you're having on a regular basis daily, I would say 1 to 2 scoops is what you want to keep it as. If it's like a one-off weird day where you're traveling and you have to have 3, 4, 5, 6 scoops, oh well, that's better than not eating. So we want better, not perfect. It just kind of depends on the day. But yeah, we shouldn't have like more than 2 scoops a day every day, because that's not going to be the most healthiest way to get your protein in. Casein is slower releasing. Whey is faster releasing. Whey is a lot better for building muscle. So post-workout, you want whey, right? And then casein is a lot better to help you sleep. So if you're doing like, and then also when you sleep, you're going to be sleeping for a long time. So casein is a slower release protein. So it will slowly release for the next few hours. And it will actually help you recover a little bit better is some of the science right now. Because of that, fact is that you will be repairing your muscles while you sleep, and then you're having a slow release of protein intake into your body as you sleep. So like casein before bed is probably the best time to do that. Otherwise, whey protein would be the way to do it. And then if you want to get casein and whey together in a normal whole food form, having some Greek yogurt or milk before bed will do both, since they're both from dairy. But yeah, so that's either way, casein and whey are the two best. The third best would be soy. And then there's like a whole debate on whether or not soy is good for men. So if you like whey and casein, I would stick with that. Other ones are not as bioavailable. So when you're looking at like pea proteins, they're okay. But again, whey casein is going to be a lot healthier and just more available for your muscles and stuff like that. Unless, of course, you're vegan, and in which case you do with what you got, and whole food's still going to be better. Tofu will be better. Soy will be better in that case. Hopefully that answers your question. I think I went above and beyond on protein powder actually on that. And yeah, one last question. What is the ideal protein gram amount per meal? I heard you say something over 40 isn't absorbed. No, actually, so over 40 is like what our goal would be for one meal, right? Because otherwise you're just gonna have a really hard time hitting your protein goal. So like, I know for me, I won't feel full unless I'm eating at least 40 grams of protein. So most meals I make like will be 40 plus grams of protein. There was one study done a long time ago that measured protein intake, and then they measured how long it would take for it to end up in someone's stool. And they came up with a rule that was like, oh, more than 30 grams of protein isn't digested at one time. However, intermittent fasting studies have since proved that to be completely wrong, and it was just a bad study. So, we've seen there was a study done where someone ate 150 grams of protein spread over like 4 or 5 meals throughout the day. And then someone did intermittent fasting, ate 150 grams of protein in one sitting. And then they measured that over a month, like who's building muscle, who's not, and are they getting enough nutrition? And they had equal results. So you can absorb protein. It doesn't matter when we eat it, we just got to eat it. And that's the big thing is like, so if you need to eat, and it can even get in a bigger meta scale. So like, if you need to eat, let's say I'm gonna use small numbers because it's just easier. If you need to eat 2,000 calories in a day, technically you need to eat 1,400 calories or 14,000 calories in a week, right? So if you want to get to your goal, even if you were to under eat one day, if you made that up by adding it, having higher days in that week, you would be okay. And so that's where the biggest thing is not necessarily looking at one meal or missing a meal time or stressing out over that. It's just about the whole consistency of the day and even of the week, right? Because one day is not going to offset the whole week. So it's not about what you do one time. It's not what you do one day. It's not what you even do 2 days. It's about what you do for the rest of the week. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of like, I think a lot of times we can get in our own heads and focus on the wrong things and focus on something really, really small, like one meal. But the idea is just like, hey, even if I had one day where I had super low protein, it doesn't matter if the rest of the week I crush it. So that's the biggest thing. Any other questions like that? Cool. That's great, Carson. I'm glad that made sense. Yeah, thanks to all these different studies we've done with intermittent fasting, it really just opened up the door to a lot more freedom. That's the biggest thing is like intermittent fasting is not a muscle building or fat loss secret. It's not better than eating 6 meals a day or eating 3 meals a day. But it's just, again, we can eat 1 meal, we can eat 5 meals. It's just whatever fits into your day, which is cool. Just have a lot of freedom. So you don't have to eat the same way every the same meal times every day, as long as you eat the same amount of food, we'll be fine. And that goes for both gaining and losing weight. As long as you're, again, in that deficit, then you'll be losing. As long as you're in that surplus, you'll be gaining. Any other questions on that, guys? Anything like that that's come up, or so far we're tracking well?
I posed a question.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So Vicente says, my issue is protein intake. Is that most of the protein-rich foods are also high in cholesterol? Not all of them. We'll go over those today in the Macro Bible. And then which protein-rich food would you recommend for people with high cholesterol? So there's like, if you think of the Mediterranean diet, Vicente, you think of like tilapia, white fish of any kind, right? Fish with like, doesn't have a lot of oil. Cod is another one. All of that will be totally fine. Shrimp is high in cholesterol, so don't do shrimp. But fish in general, like white fish, are going to be fine. Again, salmon in good amount, like not salmon every day, but like having a good amount of salmon, so omegas, right? It's actually going to be heart healthy and fortify, like help lower cholesterol, as a lot of the research shows, even though it's higher in fat, just because of the type of fat, right? So again, the type of fat matters, and I'll show you the Macro Bible next, so it'll help out a little bit. And then just getting protein from egg whites, white fish, chicken breast, and you're just going to leaner meats. You can even have a little bit of like red meat and things like that, but you want to go with like sirloin, which will have less fat, and whole food red meat is going to have a way less saturated fat than eating something like a hamburger or a hot dog, right? So if you're going to do red meat, I would say do something like a sirloin, really lean, make it grass-fed, and grass-fed has a lot of omegas. It's almost like salmon. So in which case it's going to be heart healthy, the fat you are getting. And so I'll go over and show the Macro Bible, and I'll pull up Facebook real quick. I'll go into the group, and I'll show you guys how to locate it. That way you guys can find that. All right. Oh, hold on. All right, good to go. Share screen. All right, cool. So we are in the Facebook group here. It's going to be under the topic of fundamentals. So I'm going to go to the topics here. And so there's tons of hashtag topics. And if we go to, again, we can just search by hashtag fundamentals. I'm spelling that right. And here we go. We got the Macro Bible right here. So this is what I would suggest you guys pick food off of. And then definitely, like Vicente, read some of the stuff about fat and which fats are going to be healthier and better for your, like the cholesterol versus ones that won't. In general, unless you have, hypertension, things like that, cholesterol is not associated with heart attacks and things like that. But if you have hypertension and cholesterol, then it's like, okay, that's when it starts to get something that we want to think about. When it comes to our macronutrient guide here, page number 1, this is a great list of all the proteins, not all the ones in the world, but it's a good amount, right? And then even got vegetable. And the great thing about vegetable protein is like we can start targeting higher protein carb sources and things like that, which I'll show you guys on the next page, to even increase your protein more without eating just pure like meat all the time. So I like to pair meat with high protein carbs with high protein fats, and then you just get a lot of protein into your diet from a lot of different sources, and it's going to be better that way. We got dairy, we got bread here, you got your fruits, and again, this is not every fruit in the world, but again, this just shows you a good amount of what different fruits we got. We got root vegetables, right? So potatoes, sweet potatoes, and we got veggies. Again, not every vegetable in the world, but I wanted to hopefully introduce you guys to some ones that you haven't had in a while or just haven't had ever, by giving you guys a good list of some of my favorites. And then we got dairy again when it comes to fat sources, because there's some dairy which is better as protein, like Greek yogurt, for example. And then there's some dairy like heavy cream or feta cheese, which is basically just pure fat, But feta cheese actually will have a little bit of protein in it too, right? So that's where we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. There are some fruits like avocado and olives, which are fat sources and not carb sources. And coconut's another one like that. You got your nuts and seeds. You got the oils. So olive oil of Essentia is something I would definitely make sure you're cooking with, instead of like some of the other like canola oil, things like that are not going to be good for you. Butter, grass-fed only, ghee butter only when it comes to heart stuff and just in general health. And then it's going to be really high in omegas and DHA and DEA. So that's your omega 3s, which are, again, heart healthy. So just like salmon is heart healthy because of omega 3s. Now, this is the next page, guys. We're talking about carbs that also are high in protein. And again, protein that's also, or fat that's also high in protein. So eggs, salmon, yogurt, whole fat milk, chia seeds, bacon. These are technically fat sources, which you can use as fat in your mixed meal, but they give you guys a good amount of protein as well. So I wouldn't use this as a protein source, but I would use it as a high protein fat source, right? And you're gonna do a high protein carb source, and then you have your actual protein in there, and that's a high protein meal now. So you can really get good at these pairings, and you'll be able to hit your protein intake a lot easier. So one of my favorites is like black beans, quinoa, and then I'll throw in some goat cheese, and then we can have, a couple of chicken breasts or a couple of pork chops and like some eggs, and boom, that meal is just a lot of protein. But again, you have your, lean beef. Turkey is another good one of Essentia, where that's basically, you can get turkey where it's so lean that, there's almost no fat in it. Same thing with chicken breast. And then even pork chops, again, they're a lot leaner than something like bacon. Or pork tenderloin's another pretty lean meat as well. This is a kind of a funny thing, but like, again, most fish tend to be the leanest, and then birds tend to be pretty lean as well. And then of course, the dark meat on birds, like chicken thighs, is not going to be where you want to be if you're trying to limit fat intake. But this is just something to hopefully will stick in your mind when you're at the grocery store and you're like, okay, if I want to stick to leaner meats, especially if you're trying weight loss or just thinking about your heart, fish, then poultry, and then got your ruminants like lamb and things like that. But again, we can give our ruminants grass-fed, like grass-fed lamb is going to have more omega 3s. So the diet really does matter. And then this is just the science behind why certain carbs are better than other carbs. Not all carbs are created equal, and it just really depends on what it is you're trying to do, right? So like fruit, like is fast energy, whereas sweet potato is slow release energy. And it depends, like, are you an athlete? Are you going to go work out right now, do a run? Then maybe you need fast release energy. Whereas if you are someone who works at a desk, maybe you need slow release energy. Maybe a sweet potato would be a lot better, right? And so you just got to think about your life, what you're going to do, and then pick the food that's going to be best for you. When it comes to insulin spikes, I think most of us in this group probably don't have to worry about it as much, but I would think of like, when you think of your brain fog and your energy throughout the day, you want level energy. This does matter quite a bit. So pick the ones that make the most sense for you and what you're doing. And then we got your fats, right? Honestly, most whole food fat sources, when you're thinking of like your heart health, I would not worry about them. What I would just totally ditch completely are things like this. So soybean oil, vegetable oil, grapeseed oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil is another one I didn't put on this list, but these are things that we use at fast food restaurants a lot. Anything deep fried, usually deep fried in these things. And then just the artificial trans fats that you find in most baked goods and processed foods. Those are terrible when it comes to just our overall health. But this stuff in general, we just want a good mixture of omegas, monosaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat from whole food sources like tuna, and saturated fats. If you have a good mixture of these things, that is going to just be an optimal blood lipid profile. If you go crazy on one source of fat, then it's not going to be as optimal, even if they're healthy fats. So just having a good array of fats is from whole foods is what you want. So hopefully going over the macro Bible brought up some more questions or maybe just takeaways. I want to pause for a sec and just, hear what you guys have as takeaways or just questions right now. No, everything's good.
It's
Essentially,
hard
let me
though.
know.
It's hard for me. Like I feel like I eat really healthy, and I still have really high cholesterol. So all these things kind of scare me. And then I was like, I have to increase my protein intake.
Yeah.
And whatever you're telling me, this is the things that you have to eat. Like, okay, that's already what I eat, and I still have high cholesterol. So
Yeah.
it's. I was thinking like, I don't know. I tried the Greek yogurt, and I was writing down about the casein and whey because I was like, I might have to incorporate those powders to increase my protein intake because I don't want to be eating eggs and bacon. You know, like I'm not gonna do that. So
Yeah. So essentially, I'm going to send you a research paper because I know you know how to read them. And then I'm
yeah.
also going to send you a podcast done by a cardiologist that I like. And he does a bunch of nutritional, like he has a whole YouTube channel. And I'll send you that kind of stuff. And then we can talk about it and go back and forth on it and hopefully help you find some food items that you like when it comes to your high cholesterol and stuff like that. His name is Dr. Allo. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's one of the leading cardiologists, and like he teaches other doctors how to, help people with nutrition. So he's got a great stuff. I'll hook you up with that.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys? No, everything's cool. All right. So who wants to learn how to get the second entry into our basically the raffle to win the meal prep from Jordan this week? Who's down for that? Sanchez, anyone else? All right, there we go. We got Brandon raised his hand. Cool. All right, cool. So to get that second entry, guys, I just want you to hit your protein goal that was established by PN one time this week, right? And post about it, and you'll get that second entry. So thank you, Zach. So we have entry number 1, right? Post a meal that's a mixed meal. So that means it has protein, carbs, fats. Have fun with it. Mix your foods together, make it all whole foods. You have the macro Bible as you just went through, which kind of shows you how to do that. And then that second entry, guys, is just to hit your protein goal one day this week. If you do that, you get your 2 entries. You're already here on this call, so that's 3 entries. You got your 3, you maximized your chances to win the meal prep for the week. So that's how we win week 3, guys. And of course, I want you to still work out, still take your walks, still drink water, right? That's what we're doing this week over week over week. And then after that, guys, you've pretty much learned all of the basic, fundamentals of this journey. And it's just after that consistency, it's adaptation to your life. And then of course, we can get more into programming and workouts, things like that. Anyone that was, on the call week 1 who texted me and raised their hand for that 4 weeks of training with me, I'm going to be programming your workouts for the next 4 weeks after this challenge is up. If you missed out on that, you missed out. But I'll probably give another opportunity at the end of the challenge to make sure that everyone's got, I want everyone to have a one-on-one call with me by the end of the challenge to make sure that everyone has an exit plan after this challenge. Because what usually happens with challenges is that we make a lot of progress and then the challenge is over and everything goes back to where it was, back to square one, or a lot of times worse. So I do not want that to happen with my challenge. So I want to make sure everyone's got a call with me, at least one call with me, to make sure we have a plan in place for after the challenge, whether or not you took me up on the 4 weeks or not. All right. So if you've not scheduled that yet, send me a text. I know all you guys got my number. And if you're watching the recording, right, send me a text. We got lightning outside. That is how we win week 3, guys. So if there's any other questions that you guys have, then let me know. If not, I already went over how to win the $500, right? Make sure you guys send me before pictures. Make sure you have after story and pictures ready for me at the end of this week. And then we'll pick that winner as well at the end of the challenge. All right. Thank you guys for being on here with me. The last 30 plus minutes. and learning this stuff. And then if you guys need anything, right, post it in the group, post questions in the group. That way everyone can benefit from the answers, and other people in the group who've been in the group for a couple of years now, like Pam, I can think of one of them off the top of my head. Alan's another one. They got a lot of information. So, you know, they'll a lot of times be quicker than me to answering your questions if you guys got them. Cool. All right, I'm gonna end the recording.